Steve Cohen's $8 billion plan to improve the area around Citi Field has been unveiled, and it is truly amazing. We'll talk about it on this special edition, Locked On Mets.
You are Locked On Mets, your daily New York Mets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all you amazing Mets fans. You're watching Locked On Mets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Ryan Finkelstein. If you want to find any of my work, follow me on X at Finkelstein Ryan. Also find some of my writing at justbaseball.com, where I work as the managing editor. Now, I was just sitting here planning the next couple days of the show. We're going to do an episode about the qualifying offers that were sent out and the players that the Mets should go after, which I alluded to on yesterday's show. That will be the podcast on Wednesday. I was also thinking about what to do on Thursday. It was going to be an open plea to Steve Cohen to continue to spend money. Now, that money I was referring to was on free agents, that this is a time where the Mets should continue to invest heavily in payroll because they're going to be a luxury tax team, and we're going to get to that conversation on Thursday. But then, as I'm planning out these shows and plotting what we're going to do throughout the rest of the week, I get this notification. Mets unveil $8 billion plan to improve the area around Citi Field, which has long been a rumored dream for Steve Cohen to build up all of that infrastructure around the stadium, which is now just a bunch of unused area, a lot of concrete, not a lot of functional space, not any, nice, peaceful, fan-friendly environment where you can go and grab a drink after the game. You can go to a restaurant. There's no hotel right there outside the stadium. There's no casino. And we've long heard about all of this, right? The idea that that Steve Cohen wanted to put a casino outside the ballpark, that there was going to be bars and restaurants, that there was going to be community space, that there was going to be parks, that there was going to be all of this different stuff. And it seemed like, a pipe dream in some respects. It seemed like something that was going to take a lot of legwork to make it happen. And while Cohen has certainly had his hands full with, his actual day job and, running the New York Mets, what he's been doing in the background is setting this up. This has been his true dream. This has been the plan he's been working on in the background that will leave the biggest lasting legacy on Steve Cohen's imprint on the Mets. Yes, winning World Series is the thing that fans are going to care about the most, but the fan experience has already improved significantly. There's been so many changes to the ballpark, also just celebrating history, retiring jerseys, the old timers game. There's just so much attention to detail that has been put into taking what the experience was as a Mets fan and making it first class. And Metropolitan Park is it's like Disneyland for the Mets. I mean, it is a completely reimagined infrastructure in city, so to speak, or a complex that is going to take place right outside Citi Field. Here is just going through the list in this, and I will put the link to this release that they put out there. It's from EmpireReportNewYork.com, which I don't know if that's simply just for, I'm trying to see, is there more to it? No, it's basically just the plans, I guess. I don't know how they got this. I'm looking at the site now. Regardless, they're the ones that have released this, and it has a map of what they are trying to build. So here's just the laundry list of things that they're trying to put in place. 20 acres of public park space, bars and restaurants, sports book, okay, live music venue, solar panels on structured parking they have on there, hotel towers, gaming facility, tailgate park. So I guess that's where people can tailgate before the games, if that's what they figured out to that extent. Conference spaces, public plaza, Queens Food Hall and community space, community athletic fields, a playground, renovated accessible train station, bike pass. So much has to go into place here. I mean, the infrastructure that has to be put in just to get people in and out of this area alone, that is a logistical nightmare that I'm sure they've been trying to figure out for some time now. But if this whole plan comes into place, for one, it's $8 billion in investment. Now, that's not just from Steve Cohen. That's from Steve Cohen and his partners. And his partners are pretty interesting. The main one, Hard Rock. This would bring a Hard Rock right outside of Citi Field. They are a huge, as it puts in this this article that they've written about the project. It says the cornerstone of the project is creating a world-class entertainment experience that brings people to the area every day of the year, no matter the weather or if there's a ball game. Hard Rock brings a globally recognized brand for delivering best-in-class hospitality, creating a memorable live musical experience, and offering exceptional casino and sportsbook gaming. So all of that coming right outside the ballpark, courtesy of Hard Rock. There's Shop is part of this. Shop Architects is a New York-based global design leader with iconic projects completed or underway across more than 100 million square feet on 5 continents. They're a big part of building this out. There's Field Operations is another partner. McKissick, another partner. It's a plan that didn't come overnight. This is without a doubt 3 years in the making. Cohen has talked about this vision, and now we're seeing the first, map of it. You get to look into this article that, again, I'll put in the episode description, and you can see the outlay, how they want it to look. And the ballpark is right there in the top right corner of the map. That's the hub of all of it, and all this other stuff is just going to add to the fan experience. I don't know how long it's going to take for them to build it. I know that it's going to add a ton of jobs to the community, not only to build it, but then once it's built with all these bars, these restaurants, these public parks, all these places that have to be maintained. So that's good. But yeah, once this gets done, however long it takes, you're going to be able to, if you're someone like me, right? I don't live in New York City. I live in South Florida. I became a Mets fan because my dad, a diehard Mets fan from the New Jersey area, but he moved to South Florida after college. That's where I've lived my whole life. Now I can book depending on the cost, I can book, a week stay at the Hard Rock and catch a couple of series that the Mets are going to play at Citi Field. And then in between have a casino I could go to, have, maybe there's some concert that I want to go to in the music venue. There's, a place that I can, bet at the sports book. It's ridiculous, the thought that was put into this plan. And to me, and I want to get to this more in the next segment here, this just comes back to a place where if you are a Mets fan that has any negative thought towards Steve Cohen, what is wrong with you? This guy is taking the New York Mets. He is, taking his biggest passion as a Mets fan, and he is investing everything he can into this team, not only financially, but his time, his energy, all of it, to create an absolute utopic vision of what the Mets can be. And obviously, if the on-field success doesn't come with that, there's always going to be some bad blood from fans. That's just how we're all wired. You want to see the team win. That's the most important thing. But it's hard to fault this guy for anything when he clearly cares this much about the product and cares this much about the fan experience. And with that, obviously money will be made, but he is investing a lot right now for a windfall that will come for him once everything is up and running and he gets to that final vision of what he's planning. But this shows a lot of foresight that he had to put into to make all this happen, a lot of partnerships that had to be created. And it's just, when it comes to the fan experience, it's simply going to be awesome. A casino with a sports book. Speaking of a sports book, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better place to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including the spread, player props, over-unders, and more. You have the NFL season that you can lay that $5 money line bet on. If you win, you're going to get the $150 in bonus bets. So that's a really good option. Find yourself the biggest favorite this weekend that you know is going to win. Put that $5 money line bet down. Or if you are feeling a little bit more risky, you want to go to a sport where the result a little more volatile day in, day out, anything can happen. The NBA. You can bet on the NBA, or you can just if not place that money line bet, you can look at points scored in the game, take the over-unders on the top stars in the league. You could take assists, rebounds. You can create a parlay if you want to on different players on your favorite team. A lot that can be done over at FanDuel. Head over at fanduel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. Place that $5 money line bet to win $150 in bonus bets. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. I just want to read a couple of the quotes in this article from Steve Cohen. Quote, "It's time the world's greatest city got the sports and entertainment park it deserves. When I bought this team, fans and community kept saying we needed to do better. Metropolitan Park delivers on the promise of a shared space that people will not only want to come to enjoy, but can be truly proud of." This is, again, the vision of what he saw with the New York Mets. Yes, it's his favorite team. Yes, he wants to see them win a World Series championship. And that's the thing that he's probably looking forward to most is getting to hold that trophy as a lifelong fan to break this World Series drought. That's of course the thing. But you look around and there was a lot of talk, looking at what the Patriots have built with their, what do they call it, the Patriots Way or whatever it is. The buildings, the casino around the Gillette Stadium, the hotels, the bars, the restaurants, all that stuff. Same thing you look at, the Atlanta Braves, what they have. A new ballpark with all that stuff built in. This is important. This is what Cohen has envisioned. And again, this is the legacy. As much as what happens on the field is important, what Steve Cohen is going to accomplish if this plan gets, put into action and actually gets built, and this $8 billion gets invested around the ballpark, that's the thing that 30, 40 years from now is going to stand the test of time. Where, I'll have my kids, the next coming generation who will get to go to Metropolitan Park, and they're going to experience going to a Mets game in a completely different way than I got to, or that, my dad did. Now that's Shea Stadium. That's a whole other experience. But, what Citi Field has been, once this happens, it's going to change. The ballpark has already changed some. There's a ridiculous scoreboard in there. There's all those things that have been added. But this outside, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to Citi Field and I've gotten a hotel room, in Queens, a mile away, and I've gone on that walk, from the hotel to the ballpark, or I hop on the subway and take that one stop in on the 7 line. And it's not an experience of commuting to the ballpark, of getting there, and I haven't even had to deal with what I'm sure some of you do that drive in, and the traffic to get out of there, that whole misery that I know a lot of you experience. You know, when I go to and leave Citi Field, like, to me, the game is it. There's nothing else. I'm going in, I'm staying at the hotel, I'm walking to the ballpark, I'm enjoying my game, and I'm hoping that I get my food at the ballpark, because otherwise, who knows what I'm going to get to eat that night, because there's nothing around there that is going to jump out to the tourist. The person who travels into the city to watch the Mets. There's nothing inviting around the ballpark, and this will change that. And it's going to create a much improved experience for the fan, and the sort of ripple effects of what it does for the city, for people who get these jobs now to one, build it and then to maintain it. It's like the Robin Hood effect of Steve Cohen here. He's giving back to the people. Now, what's going to happen, and the little dirty secret about all of this is that Steve Cohen is not running all this stuff as a charity. He's not investing all this in the Mets and in this area around simply out of the kindness of his heart. It's a big part of it. I do believe that he really cares about the fan experience, and that his primary motivation through all of this is making it as awesome as possible to be a Mets fan. He is treating Mets fans with a amount of respect that should keep them as Mets fans and should create more and more Mets fans. I do think all of that is the case, but I mentioned Disneyland. It almost is that model, right? It's the all right, we're going to invest a ton in making the product as good as possible, and then you get a loyal fan base that is going to keep coming back for more. And what's that going to create? More ticket sales, all the different properties that are outside the ballpark that I'm sure he gets, a cut into a lot of those different, revenue streams once they're up and running. Like all of it, ultimately, we get to a point where the rich does get richer, and Steve Cohen, whether it's 10 years from now, 15 years from now, whenever that windfall comes, is going to start to make a ton of money on all of this that he's investing in right now. But he's also losing a lot of money in the short term. And again, it is for this legacy that he is building. The New York Mets are absolutely a legacy play for Steve Cohen, no doubt about it. And while I've said it multiple times in the show already, while the product on the field is always going to be of utmost importance to the fans, Metropolitan Park, I really believe, is going to be his legacy. That's the thing that's going to stand the test of time on what Steve Cohen brought to this fan base more than potentially anything else. So really cool stuff. That's why I figured I had to just hop on, give you a little bonus edition of Locked On Mets. Also because I was really excited about prepping the show for Wednesday, the qualifying offer show. So you're going to be able to check that out tomorrow. Make sure you follow, rate, and review wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss it. I'm going to break down the 7 qualifying offers that were given out and which of those free agents should the Mets go after, if any, where they would have to give up that draft pick compensation. There's some interesting names. You got Blake Snell, Aaron Nola, Sonny Gray when it comes to starting pitchers, Josh Hader as a relief pitcher who could be a ridiculous partner for Edwin Diaz in that bullpen, Cody Bellinger, Matt Chapman, and there's one more, I believe, but I guess you'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out because it's not coming to me off the top of my head. Oh, Shohei Ohtani, the biggest one. It's just its own tier. Those are the 7, but we'll go through all of that on the show. Make sure you follow, rate, and review. As I already mentioned, wherever you get your podcast, follow me on X at Finkelstein Ryan. Follow the show at Locked On Mets.